Hello, fam. Welcome back to the ride, the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. Please, ma'am, please, sir, click the notifications tab so that you can stay abreast of all content pertaining to this platform. Click the like button, and most of all, please click the subscribe button. Today's episode, we're going to be dealing with what is your perception of love? This is going to be dealing with chapters 3, 5, and 7 from my book, Paradigm, Thinking Different About Relationships. And we're going to be looking at a conversation just to gain some context and perspective concerning what people really think about relationships, how people approach them, what is their thought process. And more specifically, when we talk about love, people's perception of love is, do people even understand what this word love really means? And so if we're not even having the same thought processes and expectations going into a relationship pertaining to what love is, then how are we actually on the same page so that we are moving towards the same goal? So we're gonna take a look at this, and we're gonna provide some commentary along the way. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the clip.
I'd say most poets is like, it's love and daffodils and
Did you just click?
I didn't understand that until my boy was telling me about the reason why they do that. But in theory, like, what's your actual perception of love? Man and woman, or a relationship, because things have changed now.
How, like, what can you actually say about that? It's like a massive, massive, massive topic. All I will say is that I know that love is something that everybody wants in some kind of capacity. It's why people always, it's a subject that even when we run away from it, we always somehow find our way coming back to it. Even when I get, let's say someone's like, oh, could...
Now, hold up. I couldn't figure out if she said love is something that everybody wants or not everybody wants. So let's back up a little bit just to get some clarity on that.
All I will say is that I know that love is something that everybody wants in some kind of capacity. It's why people always, it's a subject that even when we run away from it, we always somehow find our way coming back to it. Even when I get, let's say someone's like, oh, could you write a poem for like a wedding, for example? I always struggle with those ones because I'm a bit like, oh, so lovey-dovey. And when I'm like, oh, I write about love, it's always, it can be from a completely different standpoint. But I think the main thing is that love is something that we all want. And it's okay to be loved. It's okay to be loved. It's also okay to say, like, especially when it comes to relationships, it's fine to say, I don't want one right now.
Let's stop right there. So as we can see right off the bat, this young lady here is having a bit of a challenge in even articulating what love is. She's not able to right off the bat tell this gentleman here who's interviewing her what her perception of love is. Now, to her point, we can agree that the word love is very vast. It's not an all-inclusive, one-size-fits-all, one-liner expression of love. But when we talk about love, again, this is a faith-based platform. So my root and my standard of love does come from Scripture. And throughout Scripture, the text, the Bible teaches that the epitome of love means to esteem someone else above yourself, or to look out for the well-being of someone else, looking out for their betterment and their growth. Now, however that may be expressed and played out in our various relationships or its application, that's another subject. However, if we're talking about love from a parent towards a child, or love in a romantic form, love of a spouse, love of a parent, those are played out differently. They're applied differently. But at the root of it all, the whole point is, whether you're rearing children, is to put their well-being first. If you are in a relationship with someone, romantically, spouse, then your whole object is to put their well-being first. If you are in a friendship, your whole essence is to put their well-being first. And that's the thing that my wife and I, we constantly make sure that we live in this space of, if I'm constantly thinking about her well-being and she's constantly worrying about and thinking about my well-being, how can either of us lack? There's no way for us to be so selfish to think about what we're not getting in the situation or the relationship if we are constantly thinking about the other person. So again, when I say this, thinking about the other person, their well-being, or esteeming them higher than yourself at times, I'm not saying, put yourself on the back burner. I'm not saying to be a doormat. I'm not saying that your self-care is not important. No. But when we approach it from a standard to where it's all about you, that you're not thinking about the other person, that's the problem. So when we're talking about this thing called love, at its crux, we are thinking about the well-being and betterment of the other person.
And I'm not ready for one. And I feel like, because there's this idea that, I don't know, you're going to miss out or lose the love of your life or blah, blah, blah. You see people stay in situations that they don't want to be in. Like, you don't have to have it all together. Like, you don't have to be, I always say to people, you don't have to be ready. You can be like, do you know what? I'm figuring this out. And but to say that to someone, especially if you're already in a situation, it's hard and you have to be brave. And a lot of people can't do that. So they're like trying to figure out themselves through someone else and taking them along on the ride with them, which isn't fair.
If I'm understanding what she's saying correctly, is people get into relationships and they're not ready for relationships, or they're quote unquote not ready for love, as in doing things that will better the other person or worrying about their well-being. And then you get into the relationship and you have not done the work on yourself. And now you're trying to figure yourself out in the process of trying to love the other person. If I'm getting what she's saying. And to an extent, I will agree that if you're not ready to think about the other person in the relationship, again, not to the point to where you're losing yourself and you're not thinking about yourself and you're so infatuated and engrossed in this other person, and you've become a doormat, or you're now enabling them to just run amok, then no, that's not good. That's a toxic relationship. But if you are genuinely trying to please this person from the standpoint of making them better, supporting them, encouraging them, showing them affection, showing them time, being vulnerable, letting down your guard, letting down your walls, so that you can have this mutuality, you can have this mutual back and forth dialogue when we're talking about communication, when we're talking about intimacy, when we're talking about lifting each other up, encouragement, just giving the other person what they need and supporting them and guiding them on their journey to improving themselves as they do their self work, and you're doing your self work as well. So, is there a perfect time to be in a relationship? Uh, I would say that's a yes and a no answer, because no, there's never a perfect time for anything. But then, yes, you don't want to go from relationship to relationship and you have not done the work on yourself, thus bringing in things that just do not need to come into the relationship prematurely and arbitrarily. Let's keep going.
So I guess, I don't know, my thing of love is that love is like crazy and unpredictable, but also can be very stable and mundane all at the same time. Like,
okay, this point here that I hear people talk about all the time, that love is crazy and unpredictable, and this, I get it that sometimes people say that love makes you do things that you would not normally do. We got to be very careful with that. Love, for the most part, is not irrational. You consciously make up in your mind, I am going to love this person. I am going to look out for their well-being. Now, however you express that, we just can't be so quick to just blame it on love, that I am so infatuated with this person that I am willing to try to move hell and high water to gain their affection, their respect, their love, that reciprocated love towards me, that I'm willing to do any and everything for them to see me. So we got to be careful with that. And so, this romanticism facet, or this flight of fancy idea about love is supposed to just sweep you off of your feet, and the knight in shining armor. And we've talked about this in season 1 about the misconception or the romanticized perspective of this thing called love and relationships, that is just supposed to be a bed of roses all the time. It's supposed to be lilies and daffodils and bunny rabbits hopping everywhere, and sunshine and birds chirping and rainbows just bursting in the air. And that's love. I mean, we look at these movies that, the happy ending, it's just not realistic. Love takes work. Relationships take work. And every single day, you're not going to like the person that you're in a relationship with, because we piss each other off all the time. We're human. We're fallible. So this whole idea that love is supposed to just be so warm and fuzzy, yeah, I mean, it is expressed in certain ways that we do have emotions. So I do not want to totally disconnect this word love with emotion, because when we have spent time and space with someone over a period of time, we are drawn in, and we are connecting on multiple levels: spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally. So there are emotions involved in this, and there are ways that we express how we feel towards people. But we can't be so quick to confuse just feeling alone and infatuation for it to equate love. Because there's a song by B.B. King. The thrill is gone. When the thrill is gone, when the excitement, when the hype, when the high points of the relationship are quote unquote gone, or you hit a dry patch or a spell, or things aren't going so right, or life is happening to where if your relationship was built off of this emotion or this, let's be real, if it's built off of sex and physical attraction and things start to change, gravity takes effect and time takes over, the thrill is gone. So was it really love or infatuation or what was appealing to the eye that really caught you? But it's that work, it's that connection, it's the intentionality that's going to sustain you and hold you in the midst of those hard times. So again, fam, let's be very careful about this notion of, the craziness of love. Love is not supposed to be so far-fetched to where you're on a constant roller coaster of emotions every single day. So we got to be real about this. That we cannot remain on this emotional high for us to say that this is love.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked you to describe love. It's super hard.
See, she just said it's super hard to describe love.
I think that love.
So if you can't describe love to somebody, how do you know when you see it? How do you know when it's smack dab in your face? How can you know when to receive it? And for the context of this young lady here, if a man approaches her and wants to be in a relationship with her, how does she know? How does she know that this man really loves her if she doesn't even know what love is, or she can't even describe to him what love is? And if he's loving her, but she can't receive it in the way that she recognizes it, it's just so jaded and misconstrued that if she doesn't even know what love is within herself, how does she know when someone is actually showing her love? That's what we gotta answer, fam. That's the real question here.
It's different to all people, isn't it? But I think, I believe love is tolerance in a way, right? Because culturally, my parents are married like 40 years.
That's a part of love.
Wow.
It's
So
long
when I look at it,
suffering.
I'm like, it evolves. It may be that first, and then it's like, it goes there, and then you have to actually tolerate the human being that you're with. Like, this is it. And for like my generation, from where I see it, is that the tolerance part is like, if it gets rough, we out. So I always kind of like wonder from creatives like yourself how you objectively see that, because obviously it's not saying I'm telling everyone, but it's always good to hear, because you guys have covered this in some of your topics.
I feel like I would say to anyone, if you feel like, don't stay in anything toxic, of course. I think as a poet, you don't want to, I never want to come across telling someone or projecting on them, this is your situation, this is what you need to do. Because the truth is, you never know someone's situation at all. I remember growing up, seeing my mum and dad interact when they were together and be like, oh boy, I'll never take that, because in my mind I had the way how I thought it should go, and now again you're looking from the outside in, but I feel like having been in certain situations myself, you start to realize that, wait, hold on, this is a lot more complicated.
Right.
So I never ever want to project on someone what I feel like they should do, but if you feel like something's toxic, if it's killing your spirit, it's messing up your energy, you need to come out of it. That I definitely will say, because I feel like sometimes, I completely agree. I think it can be tolerance, and I do think that sacrifice is such a big part of love. And it takes work, and so many people aren't willing to put in the work to last. But sometimes there are some things that you shouldn't be working on. So there are so, especially because you were talking about people looking at social media and having I'm telling you, nobody in this world is relationship goals. I'm telling you that free. No two humans in this world are relationship goals.
That's really cool. I'm glad she said that, because we do see that so much in social media, where everyone is always posting relationship goals. Every relationship has its issues. No relationship is perfect. And also, to the point she's making, that relationships take work. We got to be willing to put in the work, fam. A lot of people, we don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to work at it. Love is work. Love just does not happen overnight. Again, when we're talking about love, we are willing to put the other person's well-being on display. Again, however that may be expressed with our kids. If they're a toddler, we don't want to give them scissors and they run around the house just because they want the scissors and want to run around the house. That's not loving to give it to them because they want it. Loving is telling them, no, you cannot have this right now because you are not mature. You're not ready. You're not prepared. You're not old enough. You don't know the ins and outs. I am saying no for your well-being and for your betterment. I would be negligent as a parent and operating in so-called love if I gave it to them just because they wanted it and then they turn around and get hurt. So again, fam, love does not equate to how you feel at times. Love equates to what is good for the person, what is for their betterment. Sometimes I'm going to have to tell you stuff that you don't want to hear, but I tell it to you in a loving way that you can understand it. And when I say loving in that form, it means in a compassionate, caring, gentle way. Not abrasive, not judgmental, not condemnation. But I'm telling you these things because I believe within my heart of hearts that it is going to advance your growth and is going to make you better. Thus, because you are better, is going to enhance the value of our relationship. Let's continue.
Because they have their own struggles and their own things that they go through. And I feel like you can learn from someone and be like, oh, okay, dope. Like, that's a great tip, whatever, cool. But no one, like, can be like, this is the benchmark for everything. And I feel like where we look at these like superficial things from the outside is where we're getting tripped up. So you have people being like, oh, I'm going to stay in this situation, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do this. But what you need to be doing is running away. And I feel like the main thing is that people aren't doing enough work on themselves. So
Bingo.
I see a lot of like,
Bingo.
Like, yeah, if my partner was to change like this or this, that and the other, and everyone's always trying to change each other, but as opposed to just being like,
change
am I a better
yourself.
person? And like I see, okay, so I have like a zero tolerance policy on like cheating, yeah. I have arguments with like a lot of my male friends about this, yeah. Because I've got frustration. I was like, I just don't understand. Like, if they don't do something, just leave them. Although I think having gotten a lot older, I understand that situation can also be very, very complicated. So I'm always like, if you choose to stay, all power to you, and if you choose to leave, all power to you. Like, it's okay, whichever way whatever you choose. But my main thing about like about things like that is that for a lot, I see so much on the whole, how can you forgive them and how can you do this, as opposed to us as humans being like, let's not celebrate that. Let's not say that this is okay or this kind of behavior is okay, because it's actually not okay. I don't know why no one's calling it out anymore. Like, cheat on your partner or whatever, like, it's not okay behavior. It's not, oh, sorry, let's just put a plaster over that, oh, let's just move on. Like, it's not okay. And I feel like there's not a lot of emphasis on, I'm just going to be a better person. What can I do to be like a better person for the person I want to be with? And I feel like when you do so much self-work, then you start to realize a lot more who you think you deserve.
100%.
Now, there's one thing right there that I gotta, address here. She's talking about doing the self-work. Thumbs up, totally agree. But then when she says do the work on yourself, and then you realize and understand your worth and who you're supposed to be with or who can be with you. Now we're getting into the territory there of, again, focusing on ourselves from a selfish perspective, not necessarily doing the work on yourself so that you can genuinely be better, but you're trying to be better so you can get this enlightenment of who is worthy of me. Now you're placing yourself on a pedestal. Now, this may not what she means here, but that's the perception that I'm getting. Again, that we're making ourselves so much better than what we really are. Even when we're quote unquote doing the work on ourselves on this platform, fam, let's not do personal work to be better, but then place ourselves on a pedestal as if we are better than someone else. No, because we have to take time to do the work. So let's not tear down our walls to build ourselves up, and at the same time tearing others down and raising ourselves up so that they can look up to us as if we are the model. No, we once we get over one hurdle of working on something in our lives, it's like an onion. It's constantly peeling back and having another layer of something that we've got to address. Just as this is a lifelong work of acknowledging things about yourself and doing the work to fix and change, we got to give the other person the same grace and mercy and not expect them to be perfect while we're acknowledging there's things wrong about us. But then we think if we fix two things, oh, I'm good now, I'm perfect now, I don't have any more work that I need to do. And now we look like the poster child for what it is to be in a relationship with someone. If you get with me, you done struck gold. We can't have that type of mindset.
Yeah, like then you start to be like, actually no, I did a lot of self-development here and I'm about to mess that all up. But you know what, like, I know what it's like when you feel like, do you know what, when you're feeling hopeless, but that's why self-reflection is super key. Sometimes you can be all together and then something can come and it just pull the rug under your feet and you feel like you're starting again. But then it's okay to like look inside you and be like, even simple things like, what do I like? Some people don't even know what their hobbies are. Sometimes we're so engrossed in like, whether it's being in a relationship, the type of career we want or whatever, like what we think is the next thing, that we don't actually stop and be like, what do I like doing? I ask some people, what are your interests? Like aside of, you see your man on this day, you go to work on this day, like what do you like doing? And they can't tell you. And it's sad because it's like, when have you had a chance just to look inside? What's going on there? Like, what are you okay with? What are you not okay with? Like I was saying to my friend the other day that if I just had like loads of money, how I would have therapy. And I said that I don't think you need to be like really messed up or in a bad place before you start stuff like that. That it's just really good to always be in to just know the temperature of your, like, I guess your soul. Like what's going on inside? Like, are you happy? Are you not happy? If you're not happy about a particular thing, how can you change that? How can that get better? And I feel like that constant checking in, always good. Like I could be in a situation, let's say I don't handle it the way I would want to handle it. I might be like, okay, do you know what, I should have done better. But then I'd break it down as in, but why was I feeling this way? Or why did I get this angry? Or what is the actual trigger point? Like, what is the issue? Does it stem back to something that happened before and it's causing me like anxiety about something? Like people aren't asking enough questions and then being like, okay, this is the issue, what can I do about it? It's like,
I'm glad she said that, because again, fam, that's what we talk about all the time here on this platform, of doing the work. Are we willing to take that self-reflective look? Are we willing to ask the hard questions of ourselves? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I keep repeating the same pattern? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why are not my relationships working out? All these different things. And when we talk about this context of love here, we need to take time to sit back and realize, what is our perception of love, and does it align with what we're looking for? And is it even reality of what we're thinking about what love is? And are we missing love because we have a false perception of what love is? And again, a good reminder and a good foundational point of love, no matter what type of relationship, is the well-being of another person aside from yourself. So family, until next time, please continue to think differently about relationships and do the work on yourself so that we can show up better and engage in our homes, in our families, in our communities, in society, in our nation, in our world. See you soon.